Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard budget deck profile for Shadow Paladins post Vilest Deletors. Been wanting to do this deck profile since the booster pack was released, and I also stated in my most recent booster box opening that I wanted to try and use as much of the booster box itself to make this deck profile with a little help from anything else outside the booster. What I found is it was extremely difficult just to make everything work, basically with the rares, commons, and some of the double rare cards from the set, along with using no cards from any other set. So I decided to stick with at least the, trial deck and some of the cards from the newest Vilest Deletors deck for a more, budget-based deck overall. Very affordable, and most of the time I figured people who are building, Shadow Paladins from the new support at least have picked up the Ren Suzugimori trial deck to use. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the grade 3s, moving back and forth, still between the numbers like in my last deck profile, between Dark Mage and Dark Dictator. If you have the trial deck, you were given the 4 Dark Dictators to use. So you can stick to those 4 numbers if you don't have any of the Dark Mages, since they came out in the AL4 booster pack, since I figured, most people will be getting from the Vilest Deletor booster pack, and then, like I hopefully said, also purchase the trial deck. But Dark Mage is just good for the power it gives on Vanguard and the ability to call units from your hand and then have your opponent choose one of his or her rear guards and retire it, giving that unit they call also the plus power bonus. Dark Mage also calls from the top card of the deck, and either puts in the drop zone or calls it to rear, and both have the imaginary gift force markers, so you both have that option for a good Vanguard ride, giving you the imaginary gift to use on your other circles as well as the Vanguard circle. And for the other grade 3, running 4 of the new unit from the booster pack, and it is Shadow Blaze Dragon. When placed, you counterblast 1, look at 2 cards from the top of your deck, call up to 2 cards from among them to rear, and rest, and put the rest into your drop zone. So just helpful to call rear guards with this unit for sure, just to set up for some of your plays. It works on Vanguard and rear guard, which is very beneficial for this card based on that fact. I didn't run Dark Metal Dragon, mostly for the fact that it also had a force marker, but just in terms of usable grade 3s, the fact that it had to call 9k power units with a lot of ours, usable budget-friendly grade 2s in the deck are 10k. I didn't really see it working as often, and it was only a rearguard effect, so on Vanguard it really didn't do much compared to cards like Dark Dictator. Like Shadow Blaze Dragon, which, fully works on Vanguard or rear, so very, very helpful with this, and only being a counterblast, so not having to use your soul for much else otherwise. And that is it for the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s. For Blaster Dark, still, now a good Vanguard ride target for the Twin Drive, and also just the retire effect on Vanguard or rear. Just an overall good grade 2, and the fact that you can get your playset from just 1 trial deck. There weren't too many other good grade 2 options that weren't themselves either reliant on a blaster unit or just overall good from the Vilest Deletor booster pack to fully take up the entire grade 2 lineup, which is why I decided that I would at least incorporate, like I said, the trial deck into the budget deck profile as well. And I also run 4 Tragic Knight Cathbad. This one going back with the AL4 cards. If you didn't want to run this card, you have some other options for your grade 2s to run from the Vilest Deletor booster pack. But overall, Cathbad just really gives you more power boosts that the other ones just can't live up to for that fact. If you want, and if you have Dark Trumpeter, I know the card's not too expensive, you can try running that unit as well. Instead, it's a triple rare, but like I said, not really too expensive at the moment, so a good replacement if you wanted instead for Cathbad. And lastly, for the grade 2s, 3 Knight of Fighting Spirit Dordona, 10k. Vanguard or Rearguard. When it attacks a Vanguard, if you have more Rearguards than your opponent, one of your unit gets plus 3,000 until end of turn. So just a 13k hitter that you can go up against your opponent on Vanguard or Rear for that 13k power. So depending on what unit your opponent may have on Rearguard, especially since it can still hit, grade 3s at their full strength. So I like to run through this just for additional backup for power against your opponent. And that is it for the grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s, I run 4 Apocalypse Bat. When placed, you may call a card from your soul to rear. So it is a Vanguard effect when placed. Being a 7k, being able to call a Rearguard, which is most of the time your starter, from the soul to rear, definitely is a good play just to set up, and the fact that the Rearguard can then boost Apocalypse Bat to guarantee a hit on the Vanguard if you are going first. And on rear, when placed, you may call an Apocalypse Bat from your soul to rear. So like I said, we don't really use the soul too much in the deck, but being able to use it for just calling out Apocalypse Bats to your Rearguard to then have additional Rearguards to use for either boosting or attacking. Just 4 of this card definitely does help with that setup in the deck. And also I run 4 Blaster Javelin, just a good card overall when placed. If you have 2 or more grade 1 or less Rearguards, counterblast 1, draw a card, and this unit gets plus 3,000 until end of turn. So the draw definitely does come in handy, but also just being able to hit those 11k numbers early game for strong boosts against your opponent definitely does help as well when using it with cards like Apocalypse Bat. Being able to hit 18k at least puts it over the top, so your opponent will have the card with more than a 5k shield if they're on full strength Vanguard power. And I also run 4 Ensnaring Mage Connor for a Soul Blast. All you have to do when placed on the guard circle, you move one of your Rearguards to the guard circle. So with all the additional cards you can call power-wise with Shadow Blaze Dragon to rear, you can hit some pretty good shields on the field to use with his skill. So it's more of the defensive card you run in the deck just as additional backup. If you don't have the Draw Trigger Perfect Guard, which we're running in the trigger lineup, you can take this card, at least 2 of this card, and the next card out for Perfect Guards, and then you can run the generic Abyssal Owl Draw Trigger, just if you, like I said, if you needed a more budget version of the deck to use. And lastly, for the grade 1s, 2 Guru Bow. On rear, when it attacks Vanguard, this unit gets plus 2,000 until the end of the battle for each grade of your Vanguard. So 6,000 if grade 3. So just an easy boost for when attacking, being able to hit 14k. And then, like I said, with your additional units that you're boosting, you can hit some pretty big numbers with this grade 1. It came out in the Vilest Deletor, but definitely one of my favorite common grade 1s from that set, just based solely on the fact that it's an easy power late game with your grade 3. And that is it for the grade 1s. Now moving on to the grade 0s. I run 1 Full Bow. Full Bow and all the triggers were reprinted, which I think is very helpful for people who wanted just to go from the booster pack Vilest Deletor to create a deck. So pretty standard for the starter, just the one wrote upon draw skill. And then for the triggers, we're going with the 8 critical, so 4 Death Feather Eagle and 4 Darkside Trumpeter for the triggers. And then, as I stated earlier, for the draw triggers, I have the 4 Maclear in the deck, but if you only have Abyssal Owls, you can take the Maclears out and then replace your grade 1 lineup with 2 of the Guru Bows and also 2 of the Connors to wrap up that lineup for your Perfect Guards. And lastly, I also run the 4 Abyss Healers, just, generic heal for the deck as well. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. I definitely do like doing the budget deck profiles. I think it's a good take on all the clans just to see what works best for people that don't want to spend too much but still want to get full enjoyment out of the clan they want to play for a reasonable price. If you have any recommendations on other budget decks that you want to see, just comment down below. I definitely am working on other deck profiles for the Vilest Deletor booster set, so definitely look forward to those also. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.